Oh, hey! I was in the middle of checking my Instapot and my timer ran out. I gotta make sure my sweet potatoes are done before I start reading. So, just gonna wait here a second while the air leaves my Instant Pot and people join me for devotions so my potatoes are ready for breakfast. Hold on. And make sure they're cooked. And they're extremely overdone, so that means they're perfect. Okay. And we have mashed sweet potatoes, not chunks, and whatever. Okay, good morning. Happy... Is it Wednesday or Thursday? It's Thursday. Happy Thursday! April 21st! Good night, it's almost May. How did that happen? That just struck me. That is... Wow. This month. She be flying. All right. Abner joins forces with David. Okay, 2 Samuel 3:6-21. As the war between the house of Saul and the house of David went on, Abner became a powerful leader among those loyal to Saul. One day, Ishbasheth, Saul's son, accused Abner of sleeping with one of his father's concubines, a woman named Rizpah, daughter of Aiah. Abner was furious. "Am I some Judean dog to be kicked around like this?" he shouted. "After all I have done for your father Saul and his family and friends by not handing you over to David, this is my reward? That you find fault with me about this woman? May God strike me and even kill me if I don't do everything I can to help David get what the Lord has promised. I'm going to take Saul's kingdom and give it to David. I will establish the throne of David over Israel as well as Judah, all the way from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south." Ishbasheth didn't dare say another word because he was afraid of what Abner might do. Then Abner sent messengers to David, saying, "Doesn't the entire land belong to you? Make a solemn pact with me, and I will turn over all of Israel to you." "All right," David replied, "but I will not negotiate with you unless you bring back my wife Michal, Saul's daughter, when you come." David sent this message to Ishbasheth, Saul's son. "Give me back my wife Michal, for I have bought her with the lives of 100 Philistines." So Ishbasheth took Michal away from her husband Palti, son of Laish. Palti followed along behind her as far as Bahurim, weeping as he went. Then Abner told him, "Go back home," so Palti returned. Meanwhile, Abner had consulted with the elders of Israel. "For some time now," he told them, "you have wanted to make David your king. Now is the time, for the Lord has said, 'I have chosen David to save my people from the hands of the Philistines and from all of their other enemies.'" Abner also spoke with the men of Benjamin. Then he went to Hebron to tell David that all the people of Israel and Benjamin had agreed to support him. When Abner and 20 of his men came to Hebron, David entertained them with a great feast. Then Abner said to David, "Let me go and call an assembly of all of Israel to support my lord the king. They will make a covenant with you to make you their king, and you will rule over everything your heart desires." So David sent Abner safely on his way. Joab murders Abner, 2 Samuel 3:22-30. But just after David had sent Abner away in safety, Joab and some of David's troops returned from a raid, bringing much plunder with them. When Joab arrived, he was told that Abner had just been there visiting the king and had been sent away in safety. Joab rushed to the king and demanded, "What have you done? What do you mean by letting Abner get away? You knew perfectly well that he came to spy on you and find out everything you're doing." Joab then left David and sent messengers to catch up with Abner, asking him to return. They found him at the well of Sirah and brought him back, though David knew nothing about it. When Abner arrived back in Hebron, Joab took him aside at the gateway as if to speak with him privately, but then he stabbed Abner in the stomach and killed him in revenge for killing his brother Asahel. When David heard about it, he declared, "I vow by the Lord that I and my kingdom are forever innocent of this crime against Abner, son of Ner. Joab and his family are the guilty ones. May the family of Joab be cursed in every generation, with a man who has open sores or leprosy, or who walks on crutches, or who dies by the sword and begs for food." So Joab and his brother Abishai killed Abner because Abner had killed their brother Asahel at the battle of Gibeon. David mourns Abner's death. 2 Samuel 3:31 through 39. Then David said to Joab and all those who were with him, "Tear your clothes and put on burlap. Mourn for Abner." And King David walked beside the procession to the grave. They buried Abner in Hebron, and the king of all the people wept at his graveside. Then the king sang this funeral song for Abner. "Should Abner have died as fools die? Your hands were not bound, your feet were not chained. No, you were murdered, the victim of a wicked plot." All the people wept again for Abner. David refused to eat anything on the day of the funeral, and now everyone begged him to eat. But David had made a vow, saying, "May God strike me and even kill me if I eat anything before sundown." This pleased the people very much. In fact, everything the king did pleased them. So everyone in Judah and all of Israel understood that David was not responsible for Abner's murder. Then King David said to his officials, "Don't you realize a great commander has fallen today in Israel? And even though I am the anointed king, these two sons of Zeruiah, Joab and Abishai, are too strong for me to control. So may the Lord repay these evil men for their evil deeds." The murder of Ishbasheth. 2 Samuel 4:1 through 3. When Ishbasheth, Saul's son, heard about Abner's death at Hebron, he lost all courage, and all Israel became paralyzed with fear. Now there were two brothers, Baanah and Rechab, who were captains of Ishbasheth's raiding party. They were sons of Rimmon, a member of the tribe of Benjamin, who lived in Beeroth. The town of Beeroth is now part of Benjamin's territory, because the original people of Beeroth fled to Gittaim, where they still live as foreigners. 2 Samuel 4:5 through 12. One day, Rechab and Baanah, the sons of Rimmon from Beeroth, went to Ishbasheth's house around noon as he was taking his midday rest. Why don't we get midday rest? I want a midday rest. It says right here in the Bible you should take a midday rest. The doorkeeper who had been sifting wheat, became drowsy and fell asleep. So Rechab and Baanah slipped past her. They went into the house and found Ishbasheth sleeping on his bed. They struck and killed him and cut off his head. Then taking his head with them, they fled across the Jordan Valley through the night. When they arrived at Hebron, they presented Ishbasheth's head to David. "Look," they exclaimed to the king, "here is the head of Ishbasheth, the son of your enemy Saul, who tried to kill you. Today the Lord has given my lord, the king, revenge on Saul and his entire family." But David said to Rechab and Baanah, "The Lord who saves me from all my enemies is my witness. Someone once told me, 'Saul is dead,' thinking he was bringing me good news. But I seized him and killed him at Ziklag. That's the reward I gave him for his news. How much more should I reward evil men who have killed an innocent man in his own house on his own bed? Shouldn't I hold you responsible for his blood and rid the earth of you?" So David ordered his young men to kill them, and they did. They cut off their hands and feet and hung their bodies beside the pool of Hebron. Then they took Ishbasheth's head and buried it in Abner's tomb in Hebron. Right? Meredith, I think the same thing. Like, I can't imagine. Just, like, get there. It's not like they got a chainsaw. That was graphic and gross. But it isn't. It's like, how horrific. Cutting off somebody's head. Right. You're right, Melissa. Maybe it's not a good idea to be sleeping in the afternoon. Somebody gonna be cutting off your head. Good night. All right. So right before I'll start again Monday. They sent out a midweek update email. So I'm going to go ahead and read it to y'all. It says, "Happy Wednesday." Well, it's not Wednesday now. So last night I ate a really good burger and fries. I relished every last little bit. There was not a crumb left behind. And want to know something else? I loved every second of it until I laid down to go to bed. That's where the guilt crept in. Has this ever happened to you? You eat something you enjoy and then feel shame and guilt about not picking a healthier option? I think I can get into a rut and feel like I shouldn't eat something I enjoy, but God wants me to enjoy things like food. It's the overindulgence where I can get stuck. But what if, like we read in chapter 11 of I'll Start Again Monday, which we're reading tomorrow, this battle with food really is something that can lead us to a better understanding of God? I think my favorite thing about this concept is the fact that it puts purpose into our struggle. It's not for nothing, and it can be used for great things, like leading us to be fully satisfied and dependent on God. So what I'm feeling because I ate the burger shouldn't be guilt. We can enjoy good things. It's when those good things become the ultimate thing that we get into trouble. Remember, our struggle can be the very thing that leads us closer to Him. And if you happen to order a burger and eat the whole thing, also remember there's no shame. Okay. All right. So we are going to do day 10. It says this is 30 days long, but we're more than halfway through the book here, so I don't know how it's going to last another. It's not 30 days, it's only 18. Huh? Am I not supposed to be reading a whole chapter every day? They give us a whole chapter. Oh, you know why? Because they don't do it on the weekends, and I do. That's why. All right, we're going to be ahead of the game. All right, chapter 10. This isn't fair. A huge piece of bakery deliciousness sat in front of me. It was a combination of 3 desserts in one. One layer was cheesecake, one layer was ice cream, and in between those was a layer of brownie-like chocolate cake, all drizzled with some kind of fudge icing that was calling my name. This was served to me while on a family vacation. At the time, I was at the beginning of my no-sugar adventure. I'd been doing great at home, but I'd been dropped into a place that was teeming with bakery things my mind could not even conceive of, while everyone around me could eat a pound of sugar a day and still look fit and trim. Still look fit and trim. That's the key there. Doesn't mean they're healthy. I didn't want my family to miss out, so I told them to please enjoy. I'm fine, I said with a carefree smile, but inside, a totally different dialogue was playing in my mind. It's not fair. I think this is one of the biggest tricks Satan plays on us girls to get us to give in to temptation. Saying, it's not fair, has caused many a girl to toss aside what she knows is right for the temporary thrill of whatever it is that does seem fair. But the next day the sun will rise. As each band of light becomes brighter and brighter, the realization of choices she made the night before becomes clearer and clearer. Guilt floods her body. Questions fill her mind. Self-doubt racks her confidence. And then comes the anger. Anger at herself, anger at the object of her desire, anger even at a mighty God who surely could have prevented this. It's not fair that others can have this, do this, act this way. It's not fair that God won't let us eat the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden. One little bite wouldn't be so bad, right? It's not fair I can't buy that new thing I want. Just a little debt wouldn't be so bad, right? It's not fair I have this body that requires I watch everything I eat when that girl eats junk and stays a size 4. One piece of cheesecake wouldn't be so bad, right? It's not fair that we can't have sex before we're married when we're so in love. Experimenting one time wouldn't be so bad, right? Our flesh buys right into Satan's lie, and it's not fair for the things to be withheld from us. So we bite into the forbidden fruit and allow Satan to write shame across our heart. And whether we are talking about having premarital sex or cheating on our diet, once we taste the forbidden fruit, we will crave it more than we craved it before, thereby giving temptation more and more power. And given enough power, temptation will consume our thoughts, redirect our actions, and demand our worship. Temptation doesn't take kindly to being starved. I don't know what tempts you today, but I do know that this vicious cycle, this vicious cycle, and I'm here to give you hope that it's possible to conquer it. Just typing that sentence gives me chills. A few years ago, I wondered if it might ever be possible for me. As I've mentioned, the eating plan I chose was no sugar, healthy carbs, and a protein plan, which doesn't sound so bad until you realize sugar isn't just about everything we enjoy eating. Bread, pasta, potatoes, rice, not to mention all things bakerylicious. So sitting at that special dinner during my special vacation, I started to have a little pity party, and those words, "it's not fair," crept into my brain. Hold on just a second, I apologize. Sorry. In that instance, I squirmed in my chair and thought, I'll take just one little bite. maybe 2. I've been so good. I even exercised this morning. This is vacation. Everyone else is indulging. Oh my stars, what are you doing, Lisa? The sugar was like a siren of mythical tales, luring the ships over rocky coves that would inevitably dash and destroy them. The seduction was smooth and seemingly innocent. But in that moment of temptation, I realized having a pity party was a clue I was relying on my own strength. I had to grab hold of God's strength, and only way to do that was to invite his power into the situation. In this case, I gave God control of the situation by mentally reciting, I am made for more. I am made for more. I recalled pieces of scriptures I've tried to this go-to script and banked up in my heart. I'm more than a conqueror. With God, all things are possible. Let the peace of God reign in your heart. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. The problem is, Satan hit me with a twist that left me momentarily shaky. But this is a special time, Lisa, and special times deserve an exception to your normal parameters. It's not fair that you have to sacrifice. Look around you. No one else is sacrificing right now. It's at this exact point when the dieter on vacation indulges. The virgin sleeps with her prom date. The girl on a debt reduction plan pulls out her credit card for a big sale. The alcoholic skips the AA and heads off to the bar for her friend's 40th birthday. I need a go-to script for this situation, so I lowered my head and prayed, God, I am at the end of my strength here. The Bible says your power is made perfect in weakness. This would be a really good time for that truth to be my reality. Help me see something else besides this temptation looming so large in front of me. Suddenly, a memory flashed across the screen of my mind. I was sitting on my back deck with my teenage son and his girlfriend at the time, having a deeply honest and gut-wrenching conversation. They had gotten into a bad situation and allowed things to go too far physically. While not every boundary line was crossed, they had crossed enough to scare them both. My advice to them was to think beyond the moment. Say out loud, this feels good now, but how will I feel about this in the morning? That was it. I was challenged by the words and expectations I had placed on my son, while not realizing how this same advice could be so powerful if applied to my area of struggle. I had my next go-to script, and I recited it. God's power filled the gap in my weakness. Soon it was time to get up from the dinner table. I pushed back my chair and left the dessert untouched and walked back to the room, and I've never felt so empowered in my life. Later, I looked up that verse about God's strength being a perfect match for my weakness. But Jesus said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weakness, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. 2 Corinthians 12, 9 through 10. Weakness doesn't have to mean defeat. It is my opportunity to experience God's power firsthand. Had I said yes to that one bite that first night of our vacation, there would have been more compromises. Compromise built on compromise equals failure. Instead, resisting temptation allowed promise upon promise to be built up in my heart, and that creates empowerment. This is God's power working through my weakness. I knew one day I would be empowered enough to take a couple of bites and walk away, but that day had not yet come. I don't know what you might be struggling with today, but I can assure you that God is fair and just. There is a good reason we must face our temptations. The struggle to say no may be painful in the moment, but it is working out something magnificent within us. For so long I've considered my struggles with weight a curse. I know I'm not alone in this, but what if this battle with food is actually the very thing that, if brought under control, can lead us to a better understanding of God? Sebastian, get in your bed. Get in your bed. Bessie, get in your bed. Or lay down right there. Whatever you choose to do, just stay still. What if we could actually get to the place where we thanked God for letting us face this battle because of the rich treasures we discovered on the battlefield? Lay down. My friend E. Titus summed up what I am discovering. When I get all caught up in on how unfair it is that my friend is skinny and doesn't have to work at it, how can she eat what she wants when she wants, and how much it stinks that I can't be like her. I remind myself that God didn't make me to be her. You see, he knew even before I was born that I could easily allow food to be my idol in my life, and that I would go to food instead of him to fulfill my needs. And in his great wisdom, he created my body so that it would experience the consequences of such a choice, that I would continually be drawn back into his arms. He wants me to come to him for fulfillment, emotional healing, comfort. And if I could go to food for that and never gain an ounce, well then, what would I need God for? There is such wisdom in my friend's perspective. Instead of parking her brain in a place where she constantly feels a struggle with food and a weight issue, she's chosen a much healthier perspective. The reality is, we all have things in our lives we have to learn to surrender, give up, sacrifice, turn away from. Think of that skinny girl in your life who you've watched eating whatever she wants. She may not struggle with her weight, but trust me, she has struggles. An anonymous comment on my blog gave vulnerable witness to this reality. I am one of the skinny girls, but don't mistake skinny for healthy. I battle depression, starvation, fight self-esteem issues from years of verbal abuse, and the list seems endless. Little is just an image, but being little doesn't make a person any more happy or faithful or joyful. The struggles are the same, or at least similar, just in a different size package. Life as a Christ follower will always be a learning process of depending less on our own strength and more on God's power. The Bible teaches that this testing of our faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that we may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. James 1:3-4. Oh, sweet sisters, this truth should be the cry for our souls instead of Satan's lie that it's not fair. Our taste buds make such empty claims to satisfy us, but only persevering with God will make us truly full, complete, not lacking anything. Press on, sisters, press on. That was so good. So good, so good. I have Goosey Goose. I love this book. I love this book. So much wisdom. And you know, this whole I wish I could be skinny and eat whatever I want, like that girl over there and the girl that speaks up and says she has her own struggles. Not only is it true that she has her own struggles, but I am learning every day as I continue, especially on this methylation stuff, as I learn more and more about that. For years, I've equated skinny to healthy. And we've talked, you know, I've heard people say, well, skinny doesn't equal healthy. She's skinny fat. I hate that term. Skinny fat. She's unhealthy, but skinny. That skinny doesn't equal healthy. But really stop and think about the foods people are putting into their bodies. Skinny does not equal healthy. And the more you learn about methylation and things like that and the impact of the food we put into our bodies to our cells, maybe not to our shape for some of us, but not for everyone, there are some pretty unhealthy people that we aspire to look like. What you need to aspire to is to look like a healthy person on the inside, and that will change things. And when you really start to focus on what are these foods doing to benefit me, it's not just about they're helping me lose weight. It's not just about they're healthy. What are they specifically doing to my cells? Are they filling up my methyl groups and turning on my good genes and turning off my bad genes? Are they blocking out are the foods that I'm eating turning on my tumor suppressing genes? I want my tumor suppressing genes turned on, suppressing tumors, because when those those genes are turned off, tumors are able to grow. And that is the source of most cancers. It's at the cellular level. It's not always just at the top. It's at the cellular level. And that's why it's so hard to find sometimes. So the impacts of the individual foods that we put in our body, that is what really matters. That is the ultimate, should be the ultimate goal, not to be a certain size. And I teach myself that every single day. Don't think because I work on these things and study these things and read these things that I've got it all together, and I don't look at some person built a certain way and think, I'd like to look like that. Don't think I don't have those feelings. But more and more and more, when I look at my plate, I break it down into what is this individual item on my plate. Not only is it delicious, not only is it good, not only do I enjoy it, but what is it how is it impacting my health? Is it really? Yes, Sherry. Girl. Those diet sodas, seriously, they are so, for years people told me how dangerous diet soda was, and I was like, it's diet soda. It's just a drink. Move on. Boy, oh boy, the damage I must have done to my poor cells were in there crying, KJ, stop it. We don't want any more diet soda. Give me some water. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. All right, this morning for breakfast, I'm going to make a really yummy, savory breakfast bowl. I say really yummy. I don't know. I'm winging it. I have a feeling it's going to be really yummy because I have all these methylating foods in mind that I'm going to put in my brekkie, and it's going to be yummy. So I will see you for breakfast in a moment. And the dog's going to lay down while I cook, right? As soon as I turn on the oven, he'll go running anyway. Him and those nails. Tap, 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 tap. Drives me absolutely insane. I can't focus. And there he goes again. All right, you guys. I love you all. Have a blessed day. I hope to see you for breakfast. If not, I hope to see you back tomorrow for more devotions. Have a great day. Bye, guys.